Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. They don't value what they can't see. Listen to this episode and see what I'm talking about. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. So much of what happens in our businesses, so much of the work that goes into making your events so amazing happens out of sight of the customers. It happens in the kitchen. It happens in your offices. It happens in your warehouses. It happens in your factories. It happens before the customer gets the end result. And that's pretty much true with so many of the things that happen in our lives. I mean, how many times do you see somebody creating your thing from scratch in front of you? Sometimes there's an open kitchen and you can see that, right? You might be watching them in the bakery or at the, what is that, pretzel place in the airports that you're walking by and you get that smell and you can watch them making the pretzels. They do that on purpose. They want you seeing that, right? They want you seeing them going, oh, I can't wait till those come out of the oven, right? So do your customers value the work that you do that they don't see? Right? If you're selling photography as 6 hours or 8 hours, you're shortchanging yourself, because what about the 10, 20, 30 hours you're going to spend afterwards going through photos, picking out the right ones to give to the customer, doing the editing or things like that. Video, the same thing with all the editing, right? What about the DJs and the bands that are preparing all that music ahead of time, whether the band is doing different arrangements and charts, has to learn new songs, right? The DJs getting all the announcements and all those things ready, and grand entrances and all, and sometimes with video editing and all these other things that are taking all this time, right? Caterers, absolutely. What about dress shops? They, ordering the dress, all that kind of stuff. Great. Getting it in and getting it ready for them. And then alterations, if you do that, and bustling and all those things. But people aren't going to value it unless you make it part of the conversation. And I might have said this one before, but I remember sitting having barbecue with my friend Ron Ruth years ago in Kansas City. And he got an inquiry that said, how much is your 5-hour package? And he goes, oh, yeah, another 5-hour package. I said, right, because that's what they see. That's what they see. They're going to see you for 5 hours, right? They're not going to see you set up. They're not going to see you breakdown. They're going to see you for the 5 hours. But if you go back to them and say, thanks for inquiring, I'd love to make your wedding amazing for you and your guests, just as you read in our reviews. I don't have a 5-hour package, but I would love to tell you about the 30 hours that I'm going to invest to make your wedding that great. Now, that sets up a different tone, right? I had something similar where I was going to be speaking at a conference. I was already speaking multiple times, and the promoter came and said, could you do another presentation? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't have the time. And they said, well, you're going to be there, and it's only 45 minutes. I said, oh, no, I have the 45 minutes because I am going to be there, right? Although that would be taking me away from my booth, but yeah, I'm going to be there. I'll have the 45 minutes. What I don't have is the 20 to 30 hours that I put into every presentation, right? If it's a new presentation, it's going to be at least 20 to 30 hours, maybe more. If it's one I've given before, I'm going to still probably give it 10 hours plus to make sure that I've customized the slides, make sure I've updated anything, personalized it for the audience and all those things. And then I go through it again and again, and I practice it and I go through, right? Well, you don't see that. You don't see that. And I think the better someone is at something, the more work that went into it that you don't see. What's the joke? It takes 20 years to become an overnight success, right? It's the people that are doing the work out of sight of the customer because the results matter, right? That's where they're going to value the results. And if you're looking to charge more and you're putting in that kind of work, you need to value that yourself to make sure that you're getting paid for the time that you're spending on that work, right? I attend multiple speaker conferences every year, regardless of how many acronyms are after my name. regardless of the accolades that I've gotten, I go to speaker conferences because I can be better. I watch other speakers and I analyze, what did she do that was so good? What did they do that was, or, ooh, why did they do that? Right? It's just the good and the bad. You look at that and say, oh, I could use something like that, right? Not copy it, but adapt it for yourself. Are you studying the craft? Are you putting in that time? Your customers aren't going to see that. Are you attending conferences? I hope you are, right? Not just because I speak at them, but because you need to be bettering yourself. Because if you think you can't be better, you're right, because you won't try. If you know you can be better, you're right, because you will try and you will put in the effort. You might have heard me say that my phrase is, I don't want to be the best I can ever be at anything. I do want to be the best I've ever been every time I do whatever it is. So I want to play the piano the best I've ever played every time, but the next time will be better. I want to give the best speech I've ever given, and then the next one will be better. And so on and so forth. Same with my books and same with personal life and all those things. So, the whole idea of valuing, you have to start by valuing what they don't see, or your customers won't. And make sure that it's understood. And this is why when people show videos of, time-lapse videos, let's say, of the room getting ready. I remember, I think I might have told this story. I was in Philadelphia at the Marriott Hotel at a speaker conference, 1,500 people. And I was in the main ballroom. Now, just imagine we're there, theater style, watching speakers, right? 1,500 seats, watching people speak on stage. Everybody leaves, goes out to breakout sessions. They now turn that room from theater style to banquet rounds. So round tables with 10 seats around them. Those tables were not there. The chairs were in rows. And now those chairs have to get out of the way. The tables have to come in. The tables get there. The chairs have to go around them. Linens have to go on. Place settings have to go on. Salt, pepper, all the things that have to get done. All the things we take for granted when we sit down at a table have to happen. And I watched that happen. And it was an army, a coordinated army making this happen. But we didn't value that, because we value it when we don't get it. We notice the value when we don't get it. Like if we walked in the room and there were no linens on the tables, we'd go, what? Why are there no linens on the tables? But nobody walked in and said, wow, look, they changed this room really well. I don't think anybody did that. I valued it because I saw it. But otherwise, how many times have I walked out of a room, walked back in, it was completely changed, and I didn't think about it at all, because it was set for the next thing that I needed as well, which is now to sit and have lunch or sit and have dinner or something like that. So showing your customers, talking about the amount of work that's going to go into making their effort great, not because you're bragging, not because you're looking for credit necessarily, but you're looking for them to understand that the value that you bring, a lot of it is intangible value because they won't see it. And the results are because of that. And that's what you want to let them know. Like some people say, I don't charge for the hours, I charge for the years, right? The years of experience, right? That's the same thing. Yeah, it might actually take you less time to do something now than it did 5 years ago because you're better at it. But you're better at it still by providing a better result. And that's still time that they didn't see. So start by valuing it yourself, and then think about ways that you can get your customers to understand that value. And then when you're looking to charge more, it's not just because I'm going to spend more time on it, because somebody could be really bad at something and that's why they spend time on it. It's, I get these kind of reviews, and this is the kind of results I can provide for you because of the work that I'm going to put in that you're not going to see. And that's why you're going to have such an amazing day. So I hope you can think about some ways to use that. And as always, I encourage your feedback. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel and post a review on your chosen platform, Apple Podcasts or whichever one. If you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of my episodes, email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com or visit my website, alanberg.com, alanberg.com. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests that you'd like to see, please again, email me or visit my website. Thanks for listening.